In today's video, we're going to work on the Flamenco Ukulele Rumba Duet. I actually wrote this tune for my Patreon page, so if you'd like to help decide next month's tutorial as well as download the tab for this, be sure to check it in the link down below. Let's go ahead and start with the intro part. We're going to learn both of these ukulele parts and talk about how you can kind of splice them together a little bit too. So to start here, we're going to learn the first ukulele part, and it looks something like this. And we're going to start by playing an A chord. To do this very simply, you just take your middle finger, place it on the second fret of the G string, and your index finger here on the first fret of the C string. Now, when we're playing this, we're going to be strumming this, and we're going to be doing a down strum to start. And then we're going to do another down strum. And then we're going to move chords at this point. And the chord we're going to move to is called a B flat major 7. To play this, put your ring finger on the third fret of the G string, middle finger here on the second fret of the C string, and index finger here on the first fret of the E string. We're going to strum that up now. And then we're going to do another down strum, moving this whole shape up 2 frets to be a C6 chord. To do that, you literally just take these fingers and you slide them all 2 frets up. So you have 5, 4, 3, and 0. We're then going to do a down strum on that. And then we're going to move back down to the B flat major 7, which is just down 2 frets. Come up. And then we're going to go back down to our A chord, which we started with, which you can notice the ring finger comes off and the 2 fingers kind of just kick up to the second fret of the G and second fret of the C with a down. So this whole thing sounds something like this when you play it, put it together. It can take a little bit of practice because it's a little awkward, but honestly, if this is the only thing you play from this tutorial, you're going to have a great time. I've played these chords for years and just had so much fun with it because it's that flamenco type of vibe. Now, what's cool about this is we play that for the ukulele 1 part, and then you'll notice the second measure is a rest. So we don't do anything else while the ukulele 2 is playing. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But then we look at what the ukulele 1 plays on measure 3, and you'll see that it's actually just the same thing. So you play that same passage a second time, and then on measure 4, nothing. So that's the entire intro for ukulele 1. It's just those 3 chords played in that particular pattern. Now, if we look at the ukulele 2 part, you'll notice it starts with a rest. So it doesn't do anything while the ukulele 1 is playing. But then it plays on the other measures. It plays when the ukulele 1 is resting. And we're going to start by playing the 5 on the E string and the 4 on the A string. To do this, middle finger here on the 5th fret of the E string, index finger here on the 4th fret of the A string. Now, to play this, there's 2 different ways you can do it. We're going to be doing a lot of picking with this ukulele 2 part. I like to just use my thumb. I find that's the most comfortable and gives the best tone. And to do that, you can start your thumb on the E string and just pluck through. And you get both the E and the A by doing that. If that's not very comfortable, you can also pluck these strings using like your thumb and index finger, or your thumb and middle, or your index and middle. Whatever's comfortable, go ahead and pursue, but I like the thumb. And then what we're going to do is we're going to play that note a second time, and then just like the other thing, how it had movement up and down, we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna slide these 2 fingers up 1 fret to be at 6 and 5. We're going to slide it up 2 frets to be at 8 and 7. Slide it back down 2 frets. And then back down to 5 and 4. So it goes 5 and 4 together. Again. And then up 1, up 2, down 2, down 1, back to the start. Pretty straightforward. You'll notice it's the same sort of rhythm as what we played on the other section. Now, from here, it then rests for a measure while the other ukulele is doing this part. And then to finish this intro section, it's going to play 9 on the E string and 7 on the A. To do this, I like to use my ring finger here on the 9th fret of the E string, index finger here on the 7th fret of the A string. Go and pluck those together. And then what you can do is move those up 1 fret to 10 and 8. And then move them up 2 frets to 12 and 10, back down the 2 frets, and back down 1. You'll see it's exactly the same rhythm and process as before, just now your fingers are in a different position. Everything is fixed, which makes it so much easier when you're practicing this. So we can see that those 2 different parts are, offset by a bar, and this is where it gets really cool. You can combine the ukulele 1 and ukulele 2 part if you're not playing this as a duet, and do them together. And that sounds something like this. The ukulele 1, ukulele 2, Ukulele 1 again. The ukulele 2. So if you're playing by yourself, that's a great way to go about this because it gives you the flexibility of playing both parts together. But it does sound good when you've got a friend. From here, we go on to the B melody. Now, when we do this, the ukulele 1 part, which we're going to start with, is actually really simple. It's just a couple chords, but it uses this kind of complicated strum pattern. This is called the Rumba pattern. And if you haven't worked on this before, I have a video down below that you should check out that goes into detail of how this strum pattern can be played, all of the intricate techniques and everything else. It takes some practice, but once you get it, you've got that flamenco vibe. So if you haven't worked on that before, please check out the video down below. It should also be in a card somewhere up here. But once you come back to this video now, we'll start looking at the chords. And those chords are D minor. To do this, you can take your middle finger, place it on the 2nd fret of the G string, ring finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, and index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string. And we're going to do our Rumba pattern over this D minor. So we'll go. Doesn't that sound cool, right? Again, if you haven't checked it out, it's linked down below. But we do that Rumba pattern, down, sweep up, chuck up, down. And we do it a second time, down, sweep up, down. And then from here, we go on to measure 7 and we switch to an A chord. To do that, your middle finger stays put on the 2nd fret of the G string, your ring finger comes off, and your index finger comes up 1 string to the 1st fret of the C string. And you're going to do the Rumba pattern. And then you're going to do the Rumba pattern a second time, but now on an A7 chord. Just take that middle finger off, 0, 1, 0, 0, and do your Rumba. And you'll notice at the end of this bar, it has repeat markers listed. So what that means is we need to play the whole thing twice. And when we do that, it should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, before we go on to the next melody here for the ukulele 1 part, let's go ahead and take a look at the ukulele 2 part. You'll notice that this is going to be a picked melody. Now, I like to use my thumb for this. I just find that it's the most comfortable and gets the best tone. But feel free to use finger picking style as well. Whatever's comfortable for you, go for. But we're going to start by playing the 2 on the C string. And I'm going to take my middle finger and place it there. And then the 1 on the E, I'm going to use my index. Then open on the A. And then 5 on the A, stretching my pinky out. Something really important is you'll notice that we're kind of building chords as we do this. And that's a mindset I want you to try to take as you're learning this melody. It will really help make it easier to see how things are being placed. If you try to play it like this, it's really tough to get consistent. So we want to make sure we're using the right fingers. Middle finger on 2nd fret of the C, index on 1 of the E, open on the A, pinky on 5. And that's the first measure. The second measure, measure 6, is now going to start with this rest, and then we're going to play 1 on the A. Use your index finger there. And then you're going to do a pull-off. Now, quick tip for a pull-off, remember that pull-off is actually plucking the string. So that index finger is going to physically pluck the string to get that sort of sound, right? So we're going to play the 1, pull off. We're going to reapply the 1, play it again, and pull off again. And then for the last note of that measure, we're going to take our ring finger, place it on the 3rd fret of the E string. So that measures something like this. 1. Going into the next measure here, we're going to play 1 on the C string using our index finger, open on the E, open on the A. So pretty straightforward with those. We're going to play 1 on the A with our middle finger here, and then open on the A. And in time, that's got a cool little rhythm. It sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And what's so great is the next measure is the exact same thing. So those 2 measures are identical. So when you put the 4 measures together of ukulele 2, it should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now again, as you notice when I'm playing this melody, I'm sort of building chord shapes as I go, and that can allow the notes to ring into each other. And that's one of the things that makes this sound so full, even if you're playing it as a solo ukulele player. You'll notice that this melody kind of holds weight on its own, and you could just play it by itself without the strumming. It still sounds pretty good. Let's go and look at melody 2, or melody C rather, and we're going to see that, hey, it's the same rumba pattern. So if you're comfortable with that strum pattern, you're good to go. And then it's going to be a G minor chord that's played. To do that, you're going to take your middle finger, place it on the 2nd fret of the C string, ring finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, and index finger here on the 1st fret of the A string. You're going to do the rumba pattern. And then you're going to do the rumba pattern again, but you're going to remove the ring finger here to get that different chord sound. So the first 2 measures there are, and then from here it's going to go to an A7 chord. We played this earlier. Just index finger here on the 1st fret of the C string, do the rumba pattern. And then it's going to go this really spicy chord. It's an A7 sharp 5. Sounds complicated. All that you do is take the middle finger and add it on the 1st fret of the E string. Same sort of deal. We're going to do the down. The same rumba pattern. And you'll notice here it has a repeat sign. So let's hear what this sounds. I'll do the repeat and I'll talk about what that number 1 versus 2 means. But it should sound something like this, starting at 9 with the C melody. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now it repeats back to 9, 10, 11. And instead of going on to measure 12 here, it skips ahead to measure 13 for that second ending. And it's a pretty cool ending. It sounds really good. All that it is 4 down strums. And you're going to start with 0, 1, 0, 4. So you have your index finger there on 1 of the C, and you add your pinky here on 4 of the A. And you're going to do a down strum there. And you're going to move it up 1 fret, and move it up 1 fret, move it up 1 fret. So it's this nice little parallel octave. And we call that because the C and A string are an octave from each other, going from C sharp, D, E flat, E. Kind of neat. So we're just going to do 4 downs on that. And that's the second ending. So let's go ahead and hear what it sounds like. I'm going to play now 9 through 13 with that ending. It should be something like this. And now when we look at the other ukulele part, the ukulele 2 part, you'll notice it's very similar to some of the stuff we played in earlier bars. It's got very similar rhythm to bars 7 and 8. We're going to start by playing 2 on the C with our middle finger, 3 on the E with our ring, open on the A, and then 1 on the A with the index. You'll notice we're kind of building that G minor chord. Kind of cool. Then we're going to play open on the A. And then we're going to play the same thing with one little change. We're going to play 2 on the C again. And then instead of playing 3 on the E, we're going to take that finger off, play open on the E, open on the A, 1 on the A with the index. So it's almost the same. Then we'll play the open A. So the first one looks like this. And the second one looks like this. So the strings are the same. It's just fretting that 3 and then not fretting it. Then we're going to go on to measure 11. We're going to play 1 on the C string, index finger there, open on the E, open on the A, 1 on the A. So you'll notice that starts off exactly the same as measure 7 did on the ukulele 2 part, but then it gets a little different. We're going to play 4 on the A with the pinky. So that measure is this sort of. And then as we go into measure 12 is actually the same as measure 6. It's this part here. It's exactly identical, which is kind of neat. So what that makes it sound like is if we start at 9 and we go 9, 10, 11, 12, we'll then repeat. It should sound something like this. Repeat. Now from here we go on to measure 13 instead of 12 for that second ending instead of the first ending. And we're going to play 4 on the A string, which we're already there, 5 on the A, moving up 1, 6 on the A, moving up 1, 7 on the A, moving up 1. And that's all there is to that. And that's in the same sequence as this in the ukulele 1 part. They'll play those parts together. So now the whole melody C, melody 2, sounds something like this for the ukulele 2 part. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now from here we go on to the melody D, the outro, the last part. And here's what's cool. If you're still watching this video, if you're at this point and you work through the intro, you've got the outro done except for the very last note. Seriously, it's exactly the same. The ukulele 1 part is just going. The ukulele 2 part going with the same. Ukulele 1, same. And the ukulele 2. It's exactly identical, except at the very end, after we do this, oops, I went up 2 frets. It's really easy to do. Make sure you're going the right number of frets where you'll get some interesting sounds. But after we play that, it just goes to this harmonic here on the 12th fret. So harmonics are kind of a tricky technique. There's actually a link down below breaking down this, but the gist of it is that you want to very lightly touch your finger on the fret right where the string and fret meet, see it right there, but we don't compress, we just touch, and that creates this really nice bell-like sound. Again, if you haven't done this before, there's a video down in the link, but that is how this will end, which is pretty neat. So the outro, exactly the same as the intro, just with this little harmonic ending. Now, if you're looking to make this more into a solo piece, because maybe you don't have someone else to play with, or you just want to play it by yourself, feel free to mix and match these parts. I really like to play all of like the melody or the ukulele 1 part, then do the ukulele 2 part, or vice versa, and kind of mix them up. And with the intro and outro, you can kind of combine them because they're offset a bit. So feel free to pull from different parts to create different sounds, and it really creates this awesome flamenco vibe. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I try to make sure I read all of those and answer any questions you guys might have. And if you'd like to see more tutorials just like this, be sure to click that subscribe button and check out my Patreon page, which again is linked in the description. Hope you guys had some fun with this. I love playing this style of music on the ukulele, and it was an absolute joy to write this. So I hope you enjoy it too, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys next time on the next tutorial. Thanks so much.